Come on, you did not think I got suspended with something you might share. Melissa stood her ground, demanding answers. Lennox finally relented, though with zero remorse. She declared defiantly that okay, she would share this. She stated her absolute truth, claiming that Miss Lent is a fascist. Melissa closed her eyes in exasperation, wishing for a simpler infraction. She asked Lennox why she could not have just called her that instead of what she actually wrote. Lennox shrugged, her rich upbringing coloring her perspective. She mentioned casually that she never got in trouble at her old school. Melissa reminded her, a sharp edge to her voice, that was because her parents bought the indoor pool. Lennox ignored the reality check, complaining instead that the pool did not even have a spa, and asked with genuine teenage indignation like, what is up with that? She dismissed the entire conversation with a flippant whatever. Melissa realized that reasoning was currently useless, so she laid down the law. She informed Lennox that, look, Miss Lent is expecting an apology. She stated firmly that the two of them had an appointment down in her office at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Lennox offered a sarcastic smile, saying great, and told Melissa to let her know how that goes. Melissa was shocked by the sheer audacity. She clarified the rules of engagement, stating that Lennox, until you talk to her, you cannot go back to school. Lennox smiled brightly, taking this as a victory, and replied, oh, well, guess I am not going back to school. Melissa stepped forward, her voice ringing with absolute authority. She told Lennox that of course she was. She emphasized with every ounce of passion in her soul that this is your education, and nothing is more important. Just then, the doorbell chimed, a sharp sound cutting through the thick tension of the hallway. Melissa gasped, her entire demeanor shifting from embattled guardian to nervous romantic. She whispered excitedly that, oh, that is my date. She pointed a stern finger at Lennox, instructing her that she had more to say, and commanded her to just stay right there. She repeated the command, telling her to stay, before rushing down the stairs. Lennox watched her go, whispering a quiet "oh, gross," at the thought of her aunt's romantic life. Melissa threw open the front door, her face arranged in a dazzling, welcoming smile, expecting the handsome face of Griffin. Instead, she found the desperate, tired face of Joe Longo standing on her porch. Her smile vanished instantly. She stated flatly that she was expecting her date. Joe held his hands up in a placating gesture, promising that he would be quick. He looked at his shoes, swallowing his pride, and confessed that he was a jackass down at City Hall. He admitted that he never should have crashed her meeting asking where her brother-in-law was. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers with genuine remorse, and stated that it was wrong, and he just wanted to come here and say that he was sorry. Suddenly, he shouted the word Bolivia. Melissa jumped backward, clutching her chest. Joe immediately noticed and asked if Louis was in Bolivia, noting that she just flinched. Melissa, recovering her composure, snapped back that she flinched because he shouted Bolivia. She sarcastically noted that, okay, people in Bolivia flinched. She stepped forward, her voice dropping to an intense whisper, and told him to look. She did not know where the hell he was. She ordered him to now get lost and leave her alone. As she tried to close the door, the real Griffin finally arrived, walking up the pathway looking incredibly dashing. Melissa's heart sank as the collision of her two worlds became unavoidable. She greeted him softly, saying, "Hi, Griffin." She admired him, telling him, "Hey, do you not look nice and smell handsome?" Griffin looked at Joe, a question forming on his face, asking who this guy was. Melissa quickly dismissed Joe, stammering that, "Oh, no guy, he is a nobody." She turned to Griffin, her heart breaking a little at the sacrifice she was about to make. She looked at Griffin, pleading for understanding, and told him that she knew he had waited a long time for this date, and so had she. She gestured to the house, explaining that she had a niece in crisis, and she really wanted to go on this date, but she had to spend some time with her niece. She emphasized how much she wanted to be spending time with him, pausing to inhale his cologne again, muttering that man, he smelled great. She looked deeply into his eyes, apologizing profusely, saying she was really excited for this date, but she just could not go on it. Desperate to offer him something, anything, for his trouble. She pulled him in and kissed him with a fiery, passionate intensity that left them both breathless. She pulled away, breathless, and declared that should hold you for a few weeks, maybe more. She smiled weakly, adding that we just do not know. Griffin, thoroughly stunned and pleasantly bewildered, stumbled backward, whispering, "Wow, that is a whole bucket of gravy." Melissa closed the door, leaning her forehead against the cool wood, mourning the loss of a perfectly good evening. Rhonda walked down the stairs, carrying her bag. Melissa greeted her quietly, saying, "Hi, Rhonda." Rhonda apologized, stating she knew she was late. Melissa, exhausted and defeated, asked, "Really that late?" Rhonda nodded eagerly, explaining that yes, she filled out the paperwork for the nanny agency. She patted her bag and proudly announced that it was right here. Melissa, overwhelmed by the cascading disasters of the day, muttered "no kidding," and questioned rhetorically if she was late, suggesting Rhonda should have said that before. She muttered a quiet "oh, dear God," and told her friend to relax. Just as Melissa thought the evening could not possibly hold any more surprises, Joe Longo stepped forward from the shadows of the porch, having apparently slipped inside before the door fully closed. He smiled a charming, salesman smile and announced that it was a happy visit today. He politely asked if he may enter further. Melissa flatly refused, saying no. Joe ignored the refusal, launching immediately into a highly prepared pitch. He explained that so he found the city budget online last night and he went through it. He raised a finger, offering what he called a thought. He pointed out the cash in the general fund that was just sitting there and proposed that she hire him and he would double her rate of return. He outlined the benefits, explaining that way she would have enough money for smaller class sizes and extra garbage pickups. He added, with a twinkle in his eye, "and pie for everyone." Melissa stared at him, genuinely impressed by the audacity, and replied that it sounded like a great plan, and she would sign up immediately if he were not a complete lunatic. Joe stood tall, his pride wounded, and declared that Joseph Longo is not a lunatic. Melissa recognized the name, the pieces of the puzzle suddenly snapping together. She repeated the name Joe Longo. She asked if he was Joe Longo, the man who ran Lewis's commodities division. She recalled that he made him millions. Joe nodded, a bittersweet mixture of pride and profound sorrow in his eyes, and clarified that they were legitimate millions. Yeah. He added bitterly that her bastard brother-in-law pissed away. He quickly caught himself, remembering his sales pitch, and offered a weak sorry, repeating that this was a happy visit. Melissa nodded slowly, noting that he went all Bolivia there for a minute. Joe agreed, taking a deep breath, and asked so what did she think, suggesting maybe she could get him a job downtown. Melissa shook her head sadly, informing him that there was a hiring freeze. She offered a genuine apology, saying she was really sorry he lost his job. Joe waved it off, a tragic smile on his face, calling that old news. He revealed the true depth of his despair, confessing that yesterday, he lost his condo. Melissa winced, stammering that she really needed to go. Joe continued his litany of woe, adding that and now they were about to repossess his car. He delivered the final, crushing blow with a forced lightness, stating, "Oh, but here is the morning's big headline." He announced that the adorable Mrs. Longo had decamped to her mother's house. He sighed deeply, looking out the window toward the street, and whispered that, oh God, he was really going to miss that car. Melissa, overwhelmed by her own circus, tried to establish boundaries. She asked how she could put this nicely, explaining that she had her own problems. Joe looked at her, seeking a lifeline, and asked so she was not going to help him. He argued that he lived in her district, pointing out that now that he was living in his car, he did. Melissa threw her hands up, outlining her impossible life. She told him to look. She had meetings, a trash revolt, a kid on the brink, and she was in desperate need of professional help. She quickly clarified that she meant for the household, not for her mental state. Joe seized the opening instantly. He told her that she was not going to find anybody this way. He critiqued her offer, bluntly stating that the salary sucks. Melissa defended it, arguing that it was a living